A minister stands inside a ring of candles, breath ghosting in the cold. His hand lifts a single flame towards a domed stone mausoleum on the hill. 10 feet away, Susan Burrell, a press photographer for the Edinburgh Evening News, raises her camera. She's here to document an exorcism the city of Edinburgh asked for, not to witness a haunting. The minister begins to pray, louder and louder, until the air itself seems to push back. The candles gutter. Burrell's camera flash detonates in the dark. A heartbeat later, the minister buckles, drops to his knees, whispering the same line again and again. "This will kill me." Days later, he's dead. And the photo Burrell took in that moment shows she wasn't the only one watching. Before we go back to the candles, and before we see the photo she captured that night, we need to understand whose mausoleum this is, and why Edinburgh's dead have not forgiven him. In the late 1600s, Sir George Mackenzie made his name as the King's enforcer. His task was brutal: break the Covenanters. They were ordinary Scots who refused one command: to worship as the king prescribed. For that defiance, Mackenzie crushed them. At Bothwell Bridge in 1679, his soldiers slaughtered hundreds in less than an hour. The survivors, farmers, tradesmen, even children, were driven to a strip of open ground beside a ruined friary. Later, it would be called Greyfriars Kirkyard. That winter, it was nothing more than a cage. No shelter, thin rations. Rain drenched them every night, soaking their rags, turning the ground to mud. Many died where they lay. Others were dragged out and executed at the field's edge. Mackenzie, by contrast, lived long, died well. In 1691, he was laid beneath a domed mausoleum, only yards from the ground where his prisoners had perished. As the years passed, children dared each other to knock on the mausoleum door and whisper, "Bloody Mackenzie, come out if you dare." But the silence was patient. It waited. It sharpened. And sometimes it isn't the door that opens at all. It's the earth beneath your feet. The same earth that was meant to hold the Covenanters' bodies for eternity. In the winter of 1998, a homeless man forced the padlock on Mackenzie's mausoleum and slipped inside to escape the storm. The rain hammered on the stone. Inside it was stale, damp air, centuries of dust. But it was dry. He sank to the floor, shivering. Then came a sound, a low groan beneath his boots. For a moment he froze, certain it was Mackenzie himself, shifting in his coffin, rising to reclaim his tomb. But it wasn't Mackenzie. It was worse. Suddenly the ground gave way. He plunged into a hidden pit sealed centuries before, a mass plague grave. He landed on bones, skulls, ribs, brittle hands collapsing around him, clinging to his skin and clothes as he desperately clawed his way back through the splintered floor. He burst out of the mausoleum, into the night, screaming. The mausoleum was no sanctuary, it was a gate. In the following days, the pattern began. Visitors near the Black Mausoleum staggered in sudden blasts of cold. It was the kind of cold that felt exhaled straight through them. Some collapsed without warning. Others found fingertip-shaped bruises rising on their throat, long red scratches burning across their skin. People were shoved hard enough to fall, clothes torn, bones broken, fingers snapped, even a nose shattered by an unseen blow. Some woke on the ground with no memory of how they'd been struck. These attacks started to be catalogued. The city chained the mausoleum and locked the gates of the old Covenanters' prison. Still, it spread. By mid-1999, guides were logging incident after incident. Dozens, then hundreds. Finally, the newspaper gave it a name: the Mackenzie Poltergeist. In January 2000, Edinburgh turned to Colin Grant, a Church of Scotland minister known for confronting the paranormal, and asked him to cleanse Greyfriars. After dark, he entered the Kirkyard. A journalist and press photographer followed at a distance. 10 feet from the Black Mausoleum, he stopped. The air pressed against him like a crowd without bodies. His breath caught. His chest tightened. Every instinct screamed not to step inside. So he turned. If he could not face what was in the tomb, he would try to release the others, the Covenanters left to die in the prison yard. For hours he circled on the grass with Bible and cross, chanting, sprinkling holy water in every direction. Later he told family he could feel them, a host of souls clamouring to be released. One after another he prayed them free, but only some. Hundreds gone, many still bound. By the time he stopped, he was pale, trembling, unsteady. The journalist said he looked years older than when he'd entered. Grant admitted he couldn't finish the work, and in his weakened state, he dared not approach the mausoleum doors. He believed if he stepped inside, he would not survive. Instead, he made for the church. On the flagstones outside, he placed 12 candles in a circle around a Celtic cross engraved into the stone. Consecrated ground. If he could not drive Mackenzie out from the tomb, perhaps he could confront him if he stayed close to the church. The air was still, yet the flames began to flutter. One by one, the wicks leaned sideways, as if brushed by something unseen. Grant lifted one candle towards the hill, towards Mackenzie. The photographer raised her camera. The flash detonated the dark. When the glare faded, Grant staggered, then crumpled to the flagstones, barely able to breathe. On the ground, he whispered the same line, again and again. "This will kill me." Weeks later, he was dead. A sudden, massive heart attack. He was 66, not impossible at his age, but Grant had told his family if he went back, it would finish him. And the frame Burrell took as he collapsed shows more than the minister. In the church window behind him, a figure is visible, dark, defined, watching. The photograph itself is low resolution, grainy, the kind of image that leaves space for doubt. But that night Greyfriars was locked. No one had access to the interior, and still, something looks back. The image has never been explained. When a minister falls and a photograph shows what no one can explain, the story ceases to be rumour. It becomes record. And once it's record, the city can't ignore it. The city's answer was not to confront, but to contain, to shut the gates and act as if nothing had happened. The only man who tried to confront it was dead within days. But still, the assaults continued. Then the supernatural bled into the criminal. And when the dead are no longer feared, they're desecrated. June the 30th, 2003, 2 teenagers forced their way into the mausoleum. Coffins were smashed. One decapitated a corpse, shoved his hand inside the skull, and puppeteered it as they walked away. police caught them carrying the head in a blanket, the judge revived an ancient charge, violation of a sepulchre. In April 2004, both were convicted. Under 18, they were spared prison, given probation instead, but the judge called their actions gruesome and revolting. After that, the city welded the doors shut, steel on stone. Not long after, a fire tore through the flattened office of the tour operator who had been collecting the case files. The neighbours were untouched. His rooms were gone. Every document he had gathered on Mackenzie destroyed. Investigators could not name a cause, but the tours continue. By Halloween 2006, the Scotsman called it the most well-documented paranormal phenomenon in the world. 450 attacks, 140 collapses, logged, counted, and climbing. If welding a door shut stops a haunting, then this story ends here. It didn't. Even after the welds, the reports continued. Scratches carved in threes, bite marks, burns, shoves hard enough to throw people off their feet. In the houses that share a wall with Greyfriars, knocking, objects shifting, sometimes small fires with no cause ever found. Skeptics pointed to cold air, uneven ground, group panic, gas pockets. And they're right to look where answers usually live. But skeptics can only explain so much. They can explain a fainting spell, but they cannot explain a nose broken clean across the bridge. They cannot explain 3 burning welds, repeated over the years, traced like a signature. Believers point to the logs, the photographs, the welded doors, the dead minister, the figure in the locked church window. Both sides agree on one fact: people keep getting hurt. But danger doesn't stay chained to one place. There is a book half a millennia old, said to kill those who read it in full. Its final chapters remain encrypted, written in code that even modern supercomputers cannot break. That story waits in the archive. Click the end card for the Soiger manuscript and venture further. And since you're still here, subscribe, because the next time we go north into Canada's Nahanni Valley, where men went in chasing gold, and what came out were bodies without heads. I'm Nico, and I'll meet you in the next mystery.